Barely the roll of the dice away from the Monte Carlo casino, a Monaco banker belts out his favourite Russian folk song. And he's celebrating more than just European monetary union. For if Monaco's enemies are to be believed, the money men are now singing all the way to the bank, courtesy of their best new customers, the Russian Mafia. Apparently, the Russians are coming, and lots of them, with suitcases full of cash. The loot from asset stripping, gun running and drug trafficking.
La raison d'être de Monaco aujourd'hui vit exclusivement de la fraude fiscale et du blanchiment d'argent sale des autres pays.
The Russian money launderers are a new breed of not-so-beautiful people, moving anonymously among the super-rich, safe in the knowledge that Monaco residency and banking secrecy makes them virtually untouchable.
All the Russians came in on my office and say, okay, I would like a residence in Monaco. How many I have to pay to the prince? Exactly the same story, you know. They think that we can pay everything and obtain everything with money. Sometimes it's quite true.
Once famously described as a sunny place for shady people, this raffish haven for tax dodgers is now gaining a far darker reputation. Long before Disneyland, there was Monaco. Barely 2 square kilometres of comic opera kingdom nestled in the French Riviera. What? A fantasy land where the mega-rich preen and the hoi polloi peer. In the 50s, Monaco's ruler, Prince Rainier Grimaldi, married Hollywood star Grace Kelly, and the fairy tale was complete. But behind the Disney-like facade, the Grimaldi world is crumbling. Grace was killed in a car accident in the 80s. Rainier, now rarely seen in public, is reported to be terminally ill and losing control of his kingdom to the hard men of the mob. It's a development that infuriates neighbour and patron France. In reality, Monaco only exists as an independent nation due to a long-standing treaty with France, under which Paris gets to appoint a certain number of the police and civil servants here. This somewhat rocky relationship has now hit an all-time low, with France's ruling Socialist party claiming that Monaco has become little more than a giant money laundering operation, that the Russian Mafia has moved in and taken control of the principality's banking operations, and that Monaco is just one step away from becoming a fully fledged mafia state in the heart of the European Union. Frenchman Roger Louis Bianchini is a legendary investigative journalist who's spent 40 years trawling the depths of Monaco's underworld. His exposés have provoked numerous death threats, and these days he dares not step ashore in the fabled harbour. Money laundering may be a global business, with electronic transfers zapping everywhere from Nigeria to Nauru. But what makes Monaco different, he says, is that the Mafia now choose to live in this laundry, a sunny place where they can watch their money dry.
On estime que dans les banques monégasques sont déposés en permanence 500 milliards de francs. Sur cette somme, c'est très difficile de savoir quelle est la part de l'argent noir, de l'argent blanchi. Ce qu'on sait simplement.
That's the equivalent of nearly 70 billion US dollars in a nation with only 30,000 residents.
Monaco, donc, si quelqu'un vient déposer son argent à Monaco, tout ce qu'on lui demande, c'est d'être discret, de ne pas se faire remarquer. Et ça, c'est la condition sine qua non pour les gens qui viennent mafieux, qui viennent s'installer à Monaco, c'est de se montrer discret.
The system seemed to work quite well until December 99, when billionaire banker Edmond Safra, a Lebanese-born Monaco citizen, mysteriously died in a fire in his apartment. Apparently convinced that he was under attack by terrorists or the Mafia, Safra barricaded himself in the bathroom and died of smoke inhalation. A member of his staff was later charged with starting the blaze, but many suspect Safra's close links to the Russian mob cost him his life.
Il faut savoir que sa banque avait servi de relais donc à tous les milliards de dollars versés par le FMI à la Russie, qui avait été en partie détournés par la mafia russe.
Safra's death suddenly focused world attention on Monaco's grubbier dealings with the mob. Under pressure from France, about 16 Russians have since been quietly expelled for breaking the golden rule of discretion. The Russians have been coming to the Riviera since the days of the Tsar, though these days in Monaco and along the coast in the French city of Nice, the new Russian elite works hard at keeping a low profile. But while the Mafia dons were proving to be elusive, their French lawyer, Pierre Camille, agreed to meet under the Russian flag on Nice's Promenade des Anglais.
Hi, Mark.
Pierre, how are you?
How are you?
Nice
Very
to meet
fine.
you.
Very pleased.
Pierre says the Russians don't fit the cliched image of thugs in bad suits. Many are ex-KGB agents or finance officials from the Soviet era. Sophisticated and well-travelled, they sidestep investigators with ease.
Oh, they have bank account and transfer and whatever, and offshore company and shell company and what they need.
Do you enjoy the work?
Yeah, of course. If I enjoy the work, of course. It's a pleasure to work with these guys. And
Pierre's introduction to the Red Mafia came 6 years ago on a Riviera beach, when three serious men in suits marched across the sand for a chat.
It was incredible because there were three Russians came and explained to me that their friends were in jail for problem, and they immediately start to tell me, okay, how many for the judge? How many for the judge? But we are in France here. We don't used to pay a judge to obtain freedom. It's oh no, you are not a good lawyer. Could you just tell us who is the lawyer who knows how to give to the judge?
Pierre took the case anyway. His client, one of the most feared figures of the Moscow Mafia, Alexei Petrov, a youthful godfather known as Lenny the Fox to his associates, arrested over a passport irregularity. Pierre won the case, and Alexei, who's now in hiding, is still in regular contact with his lawyer, who insists he's resisted the temptation to go over to the dark side.
It's true that you need to take care and be very careful with what you are able to do and what it's legal, and try never cross the line. And it's true that when there is a lot of money, it's attractive. They can propose you something.
The football thoroughbreds of the all-powerful Monaco team play an unwitting role in one Russian's bid for respectability and prestige. When they take to the field, the players sport the logo of a key corporate sponsor, Fedcom, a mysterious Russian company now headquartered in Monaco. In a corporate sporting world dominated by companies selling cars and mobile phones, Fedcom makes a bizarre teammate. For the Russian company's only declared product is farm fertilizer, destined for the developing world. Club officials say that Fedcom pays the equivalent of $60 million a year for sponsorship. It's an expensive way of raising the profile of Russian fertiliser with Europe's football fans. Many in France think the whole Fedcom deal smells, but concede it's almost impossible to gather evidence from corrupt Russian authorities.
Moi j'ai consulté un rapport. J'ai consulté un rapport du parquet de Moscou qui dit que 70% des sociétés russes qui investissent à l'étranger donc sont d'origine mafieuse. 70%. Donc c'est énorme. Donc il est fort possible que Fedcom Invest appartienne à ces 70%. Mais le problème, c'est toujours le même, c'est de le démontrer. Comment prouver?
It's impossible to make an appointment with Fedcom's elusive owner, Alexei Fedorichev. And we find the nerve centre of this successful multinational surprisingly quiet.
Is there somebody we can speak to? Is there a manager or general manager?
I'm financial director, if you want to speak to me.
Is it possible to have a word with you? Yeah, okay.
Italian-born finance director Eric Benengo is remarkably vague on detail. He's not sure of the exact number of factories owned by Fedcom or of the company's market share.
Why bother sponsoring? Because you don't need your name to be known. You only need it to be known within the industry, and that needs specialised advertising. Why do you do all this?
It was more or less the wish of the president of the company. When he arrived to Monaco, he wanted to participate at his level to the economical life of Monaco. So instead of just making some donation or that kind of thing, he preferred to do something else. I don't think that all the Russians that are here belong to the mafia. I mean, okay, there are entrepreneur individuals everywhere. I mean, it's not because we say, I mean, the country you're coming from is not a good example, more or less. Okay, maybe you will still have this tag, like the Italian. Okay, not all the Italian are mafia also. I know it because I'm Italian origin, so don't tell me I'm mafia.
But not everyone sees the joke. One of the 16 Russians deported in Monaco's Mafia crackdown was a Fedcom director, wanted in 3 countries on a variety of fraud and passport offences. Mr. Benengo insists his colleague left for cultural reasons after finding it difficult to settle in Monaco.
We had one director, but he went back to Russia because it's difficult for them to find well in that kind, because I mean it's really different culture.
In fact, many security-conscious Russians thrive in this culture. It's the kind of town where you can leave the bodyguards at home. 200 security cameras and 700 police taking care of business. And any unwanted TV crews.
Just doing some filming around the hotel and the casino.
Okay, perfect.
In Monaco, the media is only welcome at the endless succession of tightly controlled sporting and lifestyle events. Which is where we catch up with the heir apparent, Prince Rainier's son, His Most Serene Highness Prince Albert Grimaldi, a 43-year-old bachelor with a passion for bobsleigh racing. It's a life lived in the viewfinders of the paparazzi, recording the Grimaldi family saga of scandal and tragedy that rivals the British royals. This is about the only kind of pressure Albert relishes. With his father's health failing, he's now being groomed as the chief executive in waiting of Monaco Incorporated. But the heir apparent of this slick, media-savvy kingdom is surprisingly uncomfortable when answering obvious questions.
Whatever accusations were thrown at us were undue and were what's a good way of putting this? Were simply false and wrong.
Many French officials doubt the Playboy Prince's ability to keep a firm grip, fearing that the Mafia is now moving from the passenger seat to the controls, with Albert in danger of becoming little more than a figurehead.
they're accused of not only having money laundering or any fraud that happens in a country, and almost encouraging it, which is totally inconceivable to me.
Far from Monaco's Ferraris and facelifts, in the heartland of rural France, we find Albert's bête noire, another young man, a political rising star, already marked for greater things. Arnod Monteberg is a lawyer and Socialist Party member of France's National Assembly. More importantly, he's a key member of the Assembly's Money Laundering Commission that probed Monaco's mafia links and enraged Prince Rainier to the point he threatened to break off relations with France.
Nous sommes, et c'est un fait, là aussi, ce ne sont pas des discours, ce sont des actes, nous sommes, en France, les premiers au monde à avoir pris des mesures d'armement contre ces territoires non coopératifs, ces territoires qui refusent l'ordre international, l'ordre public international.
It's a campaign that plays well to his farming constituency, the agrarian socialists of provincial Burgundy.
Je pense que le prince Rainier est soit un peu âgé et n'a pas toute la connaissance qu'une personne de cette dignité-là devrait avoir de sa propre principauté. Nous avons par ailleurs établi que certains membres de la famille royale avaient été impliqués dans un certain nombre de malversations douteuses et que la justice monégasque s'était employée à étouffer ces affaires.
In 1962, President Charles de Gaulle imposed a two-day blockade of Monaco, successfully persuading French residents of the Principality that they should be paying French income tax. Now the Socialists are again calling for direct action, enthusiastically backing Monteberg's calls to send in the Foreign Legion and skittle the detested Grimaldi dynasty once and for all.
Je pense que s'ils ne veulent pas entendre raison, il restera la force. On envoyait les parachutistes dans des pauvres pays d'Afrique pour des raisons pas toujours claires, ni en tout cas avouables, parfois.
The Russians may buy their residency in Monaco, but many then choose to actually live and play in grand style just down the French coast. Along a secluded stretch now dubbed the Russian Bay of Millionaires are the houses of Boris Yeltsin's daughter, Yeltsin's former aide and mafia figure Boris Berezovsky, and numerous lesser dons. Just offshore from the Berezovsky compound, we finally bump into a group of the elusive Russian elite.
Where are you from? Are you?
We're asked aboard. It seems an invitation we can't refuse.
My name is Mark.
Nice to meet you, Mikhail.
Mikhail, how are you?
Perhaps sensing my slight apprehension, Mikhail breaks the ice, so to speak.
Take him with us. Don't worry, we'll take care of him.
Yeah. Never
Have a good time, Mark.
Oh, I never been seen again.
Mikhail says he's an investment banker, dividing his time between Moscow and New York. Here on holidays with his two daughters and two female associates.
How big is the Russian community here? You say you stay with friends?
Yeah, nobody can calculate, but I've got like a dozen of friends here.
Yeah.
At least maybe 2 dozens.
Yeah.
Without prompting, Mikhail raises the sensitive issue of the mafia. It's all a huge exaggeration, he says. Nothing more than a Western conspiracy to prevent honest Russian businessmen, such as himself, from enjoying holidays on the Riviera.
Sometimes it's a problem because you always have to request a visa.
Yeah.
They and here, and then they can say, we are on a vacation, sorry, we ran out of paper or whatever. So some formal excuses.
Yeah.
And it's a real discrimination to my mind.
Yeah, yeah.
As well as all this cries about the money laundering, they are really overshoot it. Somebody in the Western world is using it to cover their own adventures, let's say.
Yeah, I mean,
So that's my view. I am a professional banker, so I can say.
And with that, Mikhail is off, descending into the not-so-murky depths of the Mediterranean. The Monte Carlo Casino, Monaco's 145-year-old high temple, that according to French investigators is also home to one of the oldest yet simplest money laundering scams. Outside, it's all strangely reminiscent of a Hollywood opening night, as the normally camera-shy glide in from the dark for a display of conspicuous wealth. We've been invited in on the condition we don't film patrons once we're through the front door.
Bonsoir, monsieur. Bonsoir.
Business is so good the casino is now expanding, and we get a sneak preview of the new high roller room.
Ok, nous arrivons ici dans un tout dernier salon que nous venons de construire et vous avez la possibilité de le voir pour la première fois, étant donné que c'est un salon qui n'a pas encore servi, qui est un salon super privé et qui est destiné à nos clients les plus prestigieux.
And when the salon opens, you'd better bring your checkbook, as the minimum bet will be the equivalent of $2,000 US. Tonight, the casino's ace croupiers are running a training course, though the chips on the table, be they francs or euros, are still very real.
So how much is on the table?
5 million francs.
It's as good as cash?
Yes. If you like, we can change now. Take money and...
And according to investigators, that's quite literally how it's done, with hundreds of millions of dollars worth of chips purchased, then promptly cashed in without ever being placed on the table. A simple yet highly effective laundering operation controlled by the Italian Mafia.
Là aussi, nous avons publié des notes de police qui concernaient le casino de Monaco et qui ont fait apparaître la technique utilisée par la mafia italienne pour blanchir de l'argent à Monaco. Donc nous avons démonté ce mécanisme, nous n'avons eu aucun démenti de la part de la Société des Bains de Mer. Je rappelle qu'une partie du capital est dans la main du prince Rainier.
Such allegations prompt a flat denial from Prince Albert. Bowing to French pressure, he's just ordered an expansion of Monaco's minuscule financial control service.
One of the criticisms was that how could a service like that be efficient with only 4 people managing it? For a place like Monaco, it can be. We've stepped up. We've added 2 more people to that personnel.
The end of another busy banking day, and Monaco's finest are doing their best to prevent us filming an empty street. Despite the zeal of the French Socialists, few expect any real reform here. Self-interest is always a safe bet, and too many Paris politicians have been exposed as having secret Monaco bank accounts themselves. Last year, they used their influence to keep Monaco off an international blacklist of money laundering nations. Little wonder the bankers are so relaxed, as with a little help from the Russians, the good times roll on.